You're the most compassionate, most loving and sweetest person I know, and you're my best friend.
Yeah.
You make me a better person. You make me feel comfortable and at home. I want to go through life with you.
To say I'm surprised with the outcome is an understatement, really, because I didn't expect some of these couples to be together on the day of the decision of the ultimatum. I didn't expect a majority of them to say yes. I expected at least all of them to break up. So this outcome of this sort of experiment doesn't make sense to someone like me, because some of them were very toxic, some were incompatible, some were sort of bulldozing their partners, and there seemed to be what appeared to be sort of emotional or psychological blackmail taking place. So I don't know how we got to where we got for the conclusion. It's still not making sense in my head, but anyway, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. Welcome to my channel. In this episode, I'll be reviewing The Ultimatum, Season 2. It's a combined episode 8 and episode 9. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. After my review yesterday about James and him confessing about his self-harm history, I felt very bad and I felt very guilty, because I felt like I was being too hypercritical of him. But now watching him today, I think my concern is now for Ryan than for James, because they meet up with his mom, to have a conversation before they make their decision. And the way he was talking sort of made me feel like he's playing mind games with Ryan, in the sense that he's trying to manipulate her psychologically, and he's trying to place this decision or the outcome of this decision on Ryan's shoulders, because he now understands that she's now sort of, since living with Trey, has developed this self-confidence where she is able to speak up for herself, she's able to advocate for herself, she's able to sort of make rational decisions without putting him first. And I think this is what he doesn't like, because his mother and him were talking about the fact that he was trying to go and work for NASA, and he was looking for a job wherever he could get the most money. And Ryan apparently was saying, no, she can't do that because she doesn't want to live very far away from her family. And then he sort of said, well, my opinion has changed. I've realized that the most important thing, because his mom said, you can't just give up on a dream just because Ryan says she doesn't want to live with her family. And he went, well, the most important thing in the world to me is Ryan, so I would rather focus on that. Sort of making it seem like even if he doesn't accomplish his dream of working for NASA or getting this fancy job, it doesn't matter as long as it's with Ryan. And I think his mom was trying to say to him, don't put that burden on her, and don't hold back from your dreams just because you want to please her. If she's not willing to move, there are other fish in the sea. You can always find someone else who's willing to move with you. And he kept insisting, oh no, Ryan. I think he's trying to psychologically manipulate Ryan. I think he's a highly intelligent guy, and so he's sort of scary in how he's thinking, because I feel like if they do get married, it's not going to last, because over time Ryan is going to break down and she's going to realize, oh, Ryan is going to be so broken, she's going to be a shadow of her former self, and her family are going to end up having to come and pull her out because she can't rescue herself from his claws. So I don't think he's the right person for her. I think he's someone who's very, I'm just assuming, from what I've seen, he comes across as very manipulative. He comes across as someone who likes to play mind games with people and come out the victor, as in he likes to come out victorious. So in this case, he knows that Ryan had a great connection with Trey. He knows there's a possibility that if Trey were to propose to her, she might say yes to him, or she might decide to be his girlfriend. So to stop her doing that, he's willing to say, oh, I've given up my dream job. I've given up, I've confessed all my childhood traumas to you. How are you going to abandon me? That's the impression that I get. Because his mother even questioned that they've been together for 7 years and he's never thought about proposing to her. And suddenly, after a few weeks here, he's ready to propose. It doesn't make sense. That's why I was saying they fought the night before, and then the next day he's confessing his childhood traumas. It doesn't make sense. The math ain't mathing with James, and I don't know what it is, but the math ain't mathing. And then you have Trey go out with Rye. They have a romantic dinner, they're having a conversation, and Rye sort of, oh, I want you to open up to me, I want you to tell me anything that's worrying you. And they get to this conversation whereby they're talking about the fact that Rai feels like Trey is sort of planning their life ahead without her input. And yet it's like, why are you upset about that? Because you keep talking about you want to do something for yourself. You feel like you're not accomplished anything, and yet you don't know what that thing is. So make it make sense. Why should he involve you in plans if you don't know what you want for yourself? Even if you're included in the plans, would you be able to contribute anything if you cannot organize your own life or your own career goals as a person? Make it make sense. I don't like it. I think the problem with Rai and James, they're sort of more or less the same person. I think the only problem is James is more into psychological warfare, whereas Rai, she uses it for sort of emotional blackmail, in my opinion, because at the moment she's still holding the fact that Trey said he had developed feelings for Rai, and I don't know why Trey and Ryan cannot see how these people are manipulating them. It really breaks my heart. So Antonio and Roxanne meet up with Roxanne's parents. And personally, I don't know why they are encouraging this relationship. I feel like Roxanne's parents should have told them that you've been on this experiment, you've lived with people that are similar to you. What have you learned from that? Do you think you're ready for marriage, or do you think you need to take time out and sort of work on yourself and make sure that you yourself are in the best place for you to get married? Instead, they were talking about finances, and then Antonio got in his feelings. I think this is something that Roxanne must be hitting him on the head with: the fact that he's not accomplished, he doesn't have a plan, he's not a business person, he doesn't have goals. I think this is their biggest bone of contention, because you could see he was starting to get hyped about it, and then suddenly they were talking about, oh, he's thinking, he's in the process of acquiring a business, and is this, and it's like, did you come onto the show to publicize your business, or did you come onto the show because you really felt you wanted to get married to Roxanne? I don't even know why they were giving him all that advice. He's younger than Roxanne, he's in a different place from Roxanne. He needs to work on himself first before he can do anything else. And then once he's in a good place, he can. I'm not saying someone can't marry someone younger than them, but I'm just saying emotionally, he's in a young, he's way younger than Roxanne. He lacks emotional maturity. And then you have Alex and Kat meet up with Alex's mom and dad. And it was nice to see, because they were having a conversation about, the experiment and where they are, and if they think anything has changed or whether they're still in the same place. And it was good that Alex's mom brought up the fact that Roxanne mentioned that Alex needs someone who's more challenging. He's walking all over Kat. He's walking all over Kat because Kat is very reserved. She's very soft spoken, and he railroads her all the time. I think this was her friend's biggest fear, that he's always railroading her, and she lacks the ability to tell him stop. And he would, oh no, I've dated people like that before. I'm happy. Kat is independent. She's able to speak up for herself. It's like we're all watching Kat. Kat can't do that. She hates confrontation. She is someone who just likes peace, and you would have to mellow yourself quite a lot in order for you to match up with her. I don't think is it for her. I think they need to separate on decision day. The conversations on the final night are quite interesting, really, because you have Ryan and James having a conversation about the fact that they need to sort of reach a compromise on when they plan, if they do get engaged, when they plan to get married, and how they're going to get married. And James is keen for Ryan to move in with him, and Ryan is like, I don't want to move in with you because then you're going to procrastinate the marriage and you're going to keep pushing it back and pushing it back. And he's like, what else have I procrastinated on? Well, you've been dating for 7.5 years. You haven't proposed to her. Make it make sense. That would be a starting point of where you procrastinated, because if she was the girl for you and you had suddenly had this epiphany in 6 weeks, why didn't you have that epiphany in the past 7 years? What has caused you to suddenly have this realization that she's the girl for you? It doesn't make sense. And he starts to get upset, and this is why I was saying he's using emotional blackmail to sort of get her to do whatever he wants. And if he doesn't get his way, then he throws a tantrum, then she sort of backs down. But now, after living with Trey, she's learned not to back down. And so this is challenging for him because he doesn't know how to deal with that. And this is why he shut the conversation down and just like, this is something the two of you need to agree upon before you propose, because there's no need for you to propose if you haven't ironed out your issues. You have Kat and Alex sort of talking about their journey. Surprisingly, they seem to be in the most sound position. I think Alex, after having a mirror held to his face and seeing Roxanne, he's really appreciative of the fact that Kat is completely 180. She's calmer, she's more sort of well thought out. She's someone who sort of processes her thoughts before she vocalizes them. And I think this is something that he now really appreciates, whereas before he would just railroad her. If she kept quiet, he'd just assume whatever I say is it. And I think after that conversation and after the trial marriage, he's realized that this might not be it for me. I'd rather deal with Kat than anything else. So if he does propose, I can see them proposing. I don't know whether they'll work as a married couple. I think he'll have to do a lot of work, though. I think he'll have to do a lot of work, but that should be okay. And then you have Trey and Rye. Trey and Rye for me don't make sense because apparently she wants him to move to Atlanta with her for a year. And it's like, okay, you've made plans of what you want to do in Atlanta. What makes you think that in the year you'll have accomplished those plans? What if you don't accomplish them in the year? Does that mean you're going to push it back another year and another year and another year? And then Trey is going to wake up 10 years later and find himself still living in Atlanta. Trey is saying he wants to live close to his family, and this is why he doesn't want to live where he's living. Um, I think Wright never planned on getting married to Trey. That's my opinion. I think she liked the opportunity that she was going to be on Netflix and she would get more publicity. But the idea that she wanted to marry him, nothing she has done thus far has convinced me because she says, oh, I think maybe I've grown during this process. And because I've grown, I think I've grown past Trey. And it's like, yeah, because you've managed to get some followers. So, hey, it is what it is. Because nothing else she said made sense to me. That's just me. Nothing else she said made sense to me, so I don't get how they can actually propose to one another and think of getting married. I think they need to break up. She goes to Atlanta for a year, he continues where he is, they work and then revisit it in a year to see if they're still in the same place and they still want to get married. If not, then they move on with whoever they found at that point. Antonio and Roxanne were having a conversation of what sort of husband they would be or what sort of wife one would be. And it's like, make it make sense. Make it make sense. This is a conversation you should have had right before you moved in together 3 weeks ago. At the latest, not the day before you get married. And for the two of you not to realize what is important to your partner and what they need you to sort of have in order before they can say I do doesn't make sense. Because Antonio is, oh, I'll be your champion, I'll be this. No, I'll be the provider for our family. I'll be the head of the family. I'll do A B C D. But no, he didn't. So I don't know. It's a waste of time. Anyway, it's the morning of the final trial marriages. So the first couple to make their decision are Rai and Trey, and it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't, because Rai throughout has shown that she's really going to put herself first. Trey is not it for her. She's more focused on sort of creating a path for herself. She wants to create a future for herself. She's got goals that she wants to achieve. And so I thought they were going to break up. For Trey to do a 180 and suddenly say, if you decide you want to go to school, I'm happy to move to the school, to the area where you want to go to school. I'm happy to live wherever you are because you're my person. How did we go from him saying he doesn't want to leave his family, he doesn't want to leave his job, to him suddenly saying he's happy to do that? Make it make sense? And nothing apart from the fact that Ryan has been holding over his head that Trey developed feelings for Ryan. I haven't seen anything else that has convinced me to say that they are compatible and they deserve to be married. I think it came across as Ryan was very self-centered, and so the idea that she would want to marry Trey doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. Obviously, they say they're going to get engaged, and they'll wait and make sure that they if she wants to go to school and stuff. For me, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, and I don't even know why Trey proposed, unless there are things that we weren't shown. They're not compatible. Yes, they love each other, but they're not compatible in the things that they want to do with their lives, in the goals that they've set, in the decisions that they're making in regards to their family moving forward. Yes, they say we're going to stop talking about I and start talking about we. Someone is going to do a lot of compromising, and I don't know whether that will lead to a healthy and successful relationship. I am very nervous about that, but we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But I don't have high hopes for them.